All right, everyone. While the Democrats were busy impeaching Donald Trump, one of the central proposals that he and his administration initially made actually just slipped through and nobody even noticed, which is the other day, the federal appeals court in Fifth Circuit in Texas ruled by a 2-to-1 majority that the Obamacare's mandate is unconstitutional. They're sending it back, however, because they've ruled it's unconstitutional. And SCOTUS, I think, if it gets there, I think they'll find the same. This is sort of a continuation of a case that's been going on for the last year. They're going to send it back to try to see if lower courts will agree that other provisions of the ACA can stand without the mandate. Now, here's the problem. I personally think that it's clear that the ACA itself, in all of its other provisions, you can think that it's bad. You can think that it makes a bad healthcare situation worse. You can be a Republican, you're like, fuck Obama. It's clearly constitutional. The problem is that the ACA was only ruled constitutional in its entirety, the way it was structured, because of the mandate itself. The mandate's literally why Justice Roberts, Chief Justice, Supreme Court decision initially allowing the ACA to go forward in the Obama administration, based on the fact that the mandate exists, therefore it was a tax. It's a tax on people that don't have insurance. Now, of course, this is like the last thing that Obama wanted to tell people, which is that it's a tax on people too poor to afford the hyped up insurance that the government is providing. Outside of Vermont, by the way, which runs its own exchange and functions fundamentally on a totally more socialistic level. Of course, we pay shit ton of taxes in order to structure it that way, but I guess it's better than the ACA's alternative, which is non-competitive anyway, so it just drives prices up. The ACA should be abolished and replaced. You could replace it with a sheet of paper that maintains the two things in the ACA that were always good ideas that most people supported. Pre-existing conditions shouldn't be discriminated against. You can raise the prices on somebody, but you have to offer them insurance. You can't say a person can't get insurance because they have a defect of some sort. Quite clearly, the government has the right, under the largely shitty purview that it exacts anyway, to mandate such a thing. I disagree with the basic concept because that's why the prices are so high, but it is legal. It's perfectly fine for them to do that. The other thing is to extend plan coverage, especially the government-offered plans, to people that are in college, to get them beyond age 18 or whatever it was set to before. Essentially, it allows them up to age 25 now to be under parental plans, to be under, like Dr. Dinosaur in Vermont will extend, as long as you're in college, basically. Some PhD student, I think at 30, can still get Dr. Dinosaur, if I remember correctly. It's expensive, but it does fundamentally work. It keeps the younger echelons more healthy, which maximizes productivity. I guess there is some sort of a trade-off, but the ACA's mandate is the only thing in Roberts' decision-making in the SCOTUS case that allowed the ACA. It was ruled constitutional to mandate insurance in this form under the auspices of it being a tax. The odd thing is, by repealing the mandate and declaring it unconstitutional, which is a no-brainer, I agree with the lower court's decision, nullifies the whole ACA. It's not clear that they'll be able to find any other provision constitutional. They may challenge the SCOTUS decision, send it back up, and say, look, we don't personally have a problem. This is where I would stand. I don't have a problem with the other provisions. The ACA designing a public option or putting certain regulatory burdens on the healthcare industry, while ill-conceived, while malintentioned according to Gruber and other fraudsters, literally got sued by the state of Vermont trying to impose universal healthcare here. By the way, lesson to be learned, Bernie Sanders' healthcare plan is a flying fuck at a rolling donut. Gruber was involved with the last. Sanders was still on board even when Jonathan Gruber, Obama's chief ACA architect, said it couldn't be done. Vermont tried it. We paid millions of dollars to study it. We still found that it couldn't be done. The progressives and Bernie Sanders whined endlessly. Then Gruber attempted to embezzle hundreds of thousands of dollars, settled out of court for I think $400,000 if I remember correctly. There was a settlement. He had to pay hundreds of thousands of dollars back because he was signing off a lower-level staffer's work, if I remember correctly, as though it was him. And so the pay rate was higher. You can't do that, of course. It was fraud. Ended up not going to a jail cell, unfortunately, for trying to embezzle money from my state, where I'm currently sitting, by the way. If the mandate is ruled unconstitutional, that nullifies the whole ACA. And this was openly discussed. People who don't want the ACA were openly discussing this very case a year ago when it began. And I briefly touched upon it because it was clear it was going to take a long time. You got the Fifth Circuit largely, it's Texas, so it may be a little bit more amenable to the Constitution than the Ninth Circuit based fucking California. California as you'll have it. This is a good decision, I think, but it may necessitate that elements of the ACA that actually work may have to be reimposed in a new bill. So it'll be Trump care. Obama's chief legislation, what he fought for years, will be torn apart, declared unconstitutional, and abolished. And Trump will come along in his second term and replace it with a sheet of paper saying pre-existing conditions and continued coverage for college kids under parental plans. And it'll be, by the way, that'll be far more popular if he does that, or even if he ignores it, than like Bernie Sanders telling union workers, by the way, I'm going to abolish your health care through the unions. Fuck you, your collective bargaining is gone. I don't care about the working class. By the way, does Bernie Sanders remind you slightly of the Cowardly Lion, at least in the way he speaks? Yeah, I mean, it does to me. Just throwing that out there. I don't know if anyone else has noticed. He even acts a little bit similar. He's always jumping around and flailing. And remember that time that the BLM people got up on stage and took his microphone away and he just cucked over in the corner and stared at his feet? Oh my God. By the way, the Democrats think he is viable. At least some of them do. He's still in third place. I think Warren has just ticked upwards. I think she's just about where he is now. He should go with Buttigieg, but it looks like his day in the sun will never come. It was dawn, and then dark clouds gathered in the visage of Michael Bloomberg, actually, and, put him back to sleep. Poor dude. He could have been the next president. I'm not even joking. He had what it took, but you didn't even give him a chance. But, the Democrats are so far out there, it's not clear that a white male can even be nominated, unless it's Joe Biden. You would rather have a geriatric 76-year-old incoherent dude with Alzheimer's than a fresh face who at the very least can string up a sentence without making some vast verbal error, who's gay, and that certainly helps within the primaries, I would think. Maybe not with urban black. It's funny how they say, well, black voters are uniquely homophobic. Where do you fucking leftists even get off? If a Republican were to say the same thing, you would call them a racist. But when you pointed out it's just simple demographics, religious inner city voters and black churches, come on, dude. Fucking give it a rest. You're not going to win because Trump keeps winning in your place. You refuse to even fight. You haven't even started. The Democrats, the bell is rung. Trump comes out swinging. The Democrats are just sitting there. They think that it's still a timeout or something. It's crazy talk. So yeah, the ACA might get torn apart too. So another victory for Trump. Because I think initially he had brought that up. Well, the ACA is unconstitutional. It's terrible. They should have simplified it. They shouldn't have passed something that nobody even got a chance to read, which is true. By the way, I wish Trump would aim the same logic at budget deals. Then we wouldn't currently be paying a bunch of money towards things that have nothing to do with the continuation of government or the military spending, by the way, and are just pet projects. Why do we keep adding pork? I thought that Mitch McConnell and was conservative. I guess not. Trump just rubber stamps it because he doesn't want that fight on his hands while the Democrats are busy destroying themselves. That's about all. Peace out.